Babysitting sounds easy to people who have never done it. Hold the baby, tidy up, stay quiet. But real babysitters know better. They know what it's like to work under a cold, sharp-tongued employer, someone who treats kindness as weakness and silence as permission. Most endure it quietly because they think they have no other choice. Jasonstatham had no idea his little sister was living in that kind of silence, not until he showed up at the door unannounced and caught a glimpse of the bruises she tried to hide. And in that moment, he made a promise. Whoever put those marks on her would feel them back tenfold. Before we continue, thank you so much for being here and supporting these stories. It truly means more than you know. If you enjoy emotional, real-life narratives where quiet strength rises, where justice finds its way, and where ordinary people discover their voice, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps us bring more powerful episodes like this to life. All right, let's get back to the story. Most families in the countryside believed that hiring a babysitter was a blessing, someone who could lighten the load, watch the baby, keep things moving while the parents worked. But in this house, tucked behind a tall iron gate and surrounded by trimmed hedges, babysitting felt less like a job and more like a silent test. A test of patience, a test of endurance, a test of how much a young woman could take before she finally broke. Amelia Statham had always been strong. Not loud strong, not the kind of strength that took up space, but the quiet kind, steady, patient, reliable. She had taken the babysitting position a few months ago for one reason only, because their distant cousin, Daniel, needed help. Daniel had always been kind to her growing up, always sending letters from abroad, always remembering her birthdays when most relatives forgot. When he returned home with a newborn and a new wife, a woman whose eyes stayed cold even while smiling, Amelia agreed to step in. It was supposed to be temporary, just until they adjusted, just until the baby stopped crying through the night, just until Daniel found stable work. But months passed, and the temporary never ended. Amelia never told Jason the details. She never said how the mistress of the house, Daniel's wife, Cassandra, looked at her like she was dirt stuck to the bottom of a shoe. She never explained how Cassandra's voice could curdle milk when she snapped at her. She never mentioned how the work crept from watching the baby to mopping floors, cooking dinner, preparing laundry, and wiping countertops that were already clean. And she definitely never said a word about the bruises. Because if she told Jason, if she told her older brother, the one who had protected her since they were kids, she knew he'd get on the first plane home. He'd drop everything, no matter how important. And she didn't want that. Not when he finally had a stable job overseas. Not when he was finally living the life he'd worked so hard for. So she held it in. She pouted the fading marks on her arms. She wore long sleeves even in warm weather. She forced a smile whenever Daniel asked if she was okay. She swallowed the small humiliations, the sharp commands, the blame for things she never did. The truth was simple and heartbreaking. Amelia knew Cassandra didn't want a babysitter. She wanted someone to control. And Amelia, soft-spoken, gentle, always accommodating, became the perfect target. She woke early every morning before the sun even cracked the horizon. She changed little Noah's diapers, warmed his milk, and rocked him to sleep when his cries shook through the house. She whispered comfort into his tiny ears while Cassandra barked orders down the hallway like a drill sergeant. She endured insults about her hair, her clothes, her posture, her silence. "Speak up when I talk to you," Cassandra would snap while applying thick layers of makeup in the gold-rimmed vanity mirror. "I'm sorry," Amelia would whisper. "Don't stutter, it's annoying." "Yes, ma'am." Daniel never witnessed these moments. He left for work early and came back late. By the time he returned, the house was warm, the baby was sleeping peacefully, and Amelia had cleaned away any sign of chaos. Cassandra smiled sweetly in front of him, her voice sugar-coated, her demeanor soft and polished. If Daniel had known what happened while he was gone, he would have thrown Cassandra out himself. But Amelia's silence built a wall between truth and consequence. "Everything's fine," she'd say whenever he asked. But fine was a lie. Fine didn't explain why she flinched when Cassandra walked into the room. Fine didn't explain why her sleeves were always buttoned to her wrists. Fine didn't explain the quiet dread in her eyes whenever she heard footsteps in the hallway. Still, she kept going, partly because she needed the money, but mostly because of the baby. Noah was her refuge. When she held him, she felt safe. When he giggled, it reminded her of simpler days, days when she and Jason used to run through the fields behind their childhood home, barefoot and carefree, protected by a brother who looked at her like she mattered more than the world itself. She missed him more than she admitted to anyone. Jason had taken a job abroad a year ago, working long hours on a private security team. He called her every week, asked about her day, asked if she was eating right, asked about her new job, her new routines, her new responsibilities. And Amelia, always wanting to reassure him, told him everything was perfect. He believed her because she was the one person in the world who never lied, except now she was lying every single day. But Jason had instincts sharper than knives. He could sense things in the tone of a voice, in the hesitation between words, and lately something felt wrong. She sounded tired, too tired, like she was holding something heavy, something she wouldn't put down. He told himself he was overthinking, that she was simply adjusting to her new role, that life was busy but manageable. Then one evening he made a decision, a sudden, impulsive, protective decision. He didn't tell her he was coming home. He booked a ticket, packed his bags, and promised himself he'd walk through her door before she had the chance to put on a brave face. He wanted to see her raw, unprepared, unmasked. He wanted to know the truth. The morning Jason's plane landed, Amelia had already been up for hours. Cassandra had woken her by banging on the door of the small room Amelia slept in. "Get up," Noah's crying. "I swear you sleep like a rock." Amelia blinked awake, rubbing her eyes. Her neck ached from the hard pillow. She pulled her sweater over her thin cotton shirt, something she did reflexively now. Every day was long sleeves only. She entered the nursery to find Noah reaching toward her, his tiny fists waving in the air. Her heart softened immediately. "Shhh, little one," she whispered, lifting him into her arms. "It's all right, I'm here." Cassandra appeared behind her, arms crossed, eyes cold. "Don't coddle him, you'll spoil him." Amelia nodded quickly, "Yes, ma'am. And don't forget to clean the downstairs bathroom today. I saw hair in the sink last night. It's disgusting." "Of course. And after that, iron Daniel's shirts." "I will." "Then take Noah on a walk. He needs fresh air, but don't take him to that park again. The people there look cheap." "Yes, ma'am." "And Amelia." She froze. "Yes." Cassandra leaned closer, lowering her voice into a whisper sharp enough to cut skin. "If you mess up today, we're going to have a problem." Amelia's breath caught. I won't." "You said that yesterday." Cassandra walked off, heels clacking like gunshots down the marble floor. Amelia pressed a gentle kiss to Noah's forehead, trying not to let her hands shake. It was a normal day. A normal, terrible day. But she didn't know that something extraordinary was already on its way. Miles away, Jasonstatham stood outside a taxi, staring at the tall iron gate of his cousin's house. A small suitcase rested by his feet. The morning breeze tugged lightly at his jacket, and his eyes scanned the surroundings with a familiar alertness. He had rehearsed a dozen different greetings on the plane. Surprise, joy, warm laughter. But now that he was here, now that he was steps away from seeing the person he'd sworn to protect since childhood, he felt a sense of urgency twisting in his chest. He pressed the gate buzzer. No answer. He pressed it again. Still nothing. Finally, he tried opening the gate by hand. It wasn't locked. He frowned slightly. A house like this should have been secured, but he didn't think much of it as he stepped inside. He walked up the path, past trimmed hedges and rose bushes until he reached the front door. He raised his hand to knock, hesitated, and then knocked 3 times, steady and firm. Inside the house, Amelia froze mid-step. She had Noah balanced on her hip, humming softly to him. She wasn't expecting anyone. Daniel wasn't due home until evening, and Cassandra was out buying new shoes she didn't need. She approached the door cautiously, gently bouncing the baby. "Who is it?" she called softly. "It's me." A voice she knew from memory, a voice she could recognize even in a dream. Her breath hitched. She unlocked the door. And when it swung open, her world stopped. Jason stood on the porch, taller, sharper, older than when she last saw him, but with the same warm eyes that had guided her through every difficult moment of childhood. Jason, she whispered. His face lit with a relieved smile, one that faded the second he truly saw her. Her sleeves were pushed up from holding the baby, and the bruises, yellowed, fading but unmistakable, marked her forearm like fingerprints from a nightmare. Jason didn't breathe for a full second. His jaw clenched so tightly his teeth ground against each other. Amelia, what happened? His voice was soft, but underneath it, contained, buried, was a storm. She quickly pulled her sleeve down, eyes dropping to the floor. It's nothing, just the door yesterday. I bumped into it while carrying baskets. I'm fine. Don't lie, he said gently. Her chin quivered. I'm not. He lifted a hand slowly, not touching her, just placing it in the air between them, asking her to stop hiding. Amelia, please. A tear fell before she could stop it. But she still shook her head. It's complicated. Jason exhaled through his nose, slow and deep, trying to keep the rising fury from spilling out onto the porch. Does Daniel know? He asked. And no, and he can't. Please, Jason, don't make trouble. I just need the job. And Noah, he needs someone calm around him. Jason's eyes softened at the baby's name. He reached out and brushed one finger across Noah's tiny hand. But when his eyes returned to Amelia, they were colder than winter. No one, he said quietly, puts bruises on my sister. Jason, I'm not leaving, he said, not until I know exactly who did this. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. Please, don't do anything impulsive. He stepped inside, closing the door gently behind him. I won't, he promised softly. But I'm going to do something. She swallowed hard. Jason. He looked around the house, at the spotless floors, the perfectly arranged furniture, the silence that felt like a held breath. Something was wrong here. He could feel it in his bones. Where is everyone? He asked. Daniel's at work, she whispered, and Cassandra is out. The name alone made his eyes narrow. Cassandra, he repeated, tasting the word with suspicion. Amelia flinched, not visibly, but enough for Jason's instincts to sharpen. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. Amelia, look at me. She did. He nodded once. Who hurt you? Her lips parted, but no answer came. She didn't need to say it. He already knew. A tense silence stretched between them, filled only by the soft breath of the baby in her arms. Jason inhaled slowly, grounding himself. He didn't shout, didn't explode, didn't storm through the house tearing things apart. He simply placed a gentle hand on Amelia's shoulder, so gentle it nearly broke her. I'm here now, he whispered, and whoever did this, whoever laid a hand on you, is going to understand exactly what that means. Amelia squeezed her eyes shut, torn between fear and relief. Jason, please, don't make things worse. He nodded faintly. I won't, he said again. But there was a look in his eyes, a quiet, controlled promise, that told her this situation was already changing. And somewhere, miles away from the front door, Cassandra was completely unaware that her life was about to shift beneath her feet. Jasonstatham was home, and he had seen the bruises his sister tried to hide. Everything else would follow. Cassandra never feared anyone in her life. She was the kind of woman who controlled every room she walked into, sharp words, sharper eyes, and a temper she wore proudly like perfume. But she had never met Jasonstatham. She had never seen the way he stood when he was angry but didn't raise his voice. She had never felt the tension in the air that followed him when he was protecting someone he loved. And because she didn't know him, she wasn't ready. Amelia paced anxiously in the living room, holding Noah close to her chest. Jason sat quietly on the edge of the couch, elbows resting on his knees, hands clasped together. He wasn't fidgeting. He wasn't restless. He was simply still, too still. Jason, please, Amelia whispered again for what felt like the 100th time. Let me handle it if you go to her. You're not handling it, he said calmly. You're surviving it. She flinched. He softened his voice. You shouldn't have to survive anything in this house. I don't want trouble. That's the problem, Mia. She counted on that. Amelia looked at the carpet, her breath shaky. Noah curled against her shoulder, oblivious to the storm brewing. Jason's eyes drifted to the small bruise peeking from beneath her sleeve. His jaw tightened again, just slightly. "How long has it been happening?" he asked, tone steady, controlled. She hesitated. "A while." "How long, Amelia?" Her voice broke. 3 months. Jason's eyes closed for a moment, not in frustration but in quiet grief. "And you didn't tell me." "You were finally happy," she whispered. "You had a good job, a stable life. I didn't want to ruin that." "You're my sister," he said, looking at her fully. "There is nothing in this world, nothing, that matters more than making sure you're safe." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I thought I could handle it." "You shouldn't have to," he murmured. Before she could say more, the front door opened sharply, followed by quick clicking footsteps. Cassandra's voice echoed through the foyer, already irritated. "Amelia, I asked you to." She stepped into the living room mid-sentence and froze. Jason stood up slowly. Cassandra blinked, confused, then annoyed. "I'm sorry," she scoffed. "Who are you?" Amelia held Noah tighter. Jason didn't speak right away. He studied Cassandra with a cold, unreadable calm. Daniel had described Cassandra in vague terms before: confident, assertive, opinionated. He hadn't mentioned the cruelty that hung in her voice or the sharpness in her eyes. He hadn't mentioned the arrogance woven into every gesture. But Jason saw it instantly, saw it the way other people see color or motion. He spoke finally, his voice controlled and even. "I'm Amelia's brother." Cassandra forced a smile that didn't touch her eyes. "Oh, you're the one from abroad." She looked him up and down dismissively. "Well, if you're here, I assume you're visiting. Amelia didn't inform me. She didn't know I was coming." "How inconvenient," Cassandra replied, as if scolding a child. She turned to Amelia. "Next time I'd like notice. Today's schedule is already chaotic." Jason stepped forward once. One step. Calm, steady, but enough to change the air in the room. "What schedule?" he asked. Cassandra raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me. You just got home from shopping." "That's none of your concern." Jason's expression didn't change. "I think it is." Cassandra's jaw tightened. "I don't appreciate your tone. You're a guest barely, and in this house you'll speak with respect." Amelia whispered urgently, "Jason, please." He lifted a hand slightly, reassuring her, then lowered it. "I'm not here to argue," he said softly. "I'm here for one reason." "And that is?" Cassandra asked, crossing her arms. Jason didn't look away. "I want to know why my sister has bruises on her body." Silence collapsed into the room like a dropped weight. Cassandra's face flickered, but only for a second. Then she scoffed, laughing under her breath. "Oh, for heaven's sake, Bruises. Amelia is clumsy. She bumps into things. She's always rushing around." Jason's eyes never left her. "Is that the story you're going with?" Cassandra blinked. "It's the truth." "No," he said quietly, "it is." Amelia's breath caught. Cassandra stiffened. "Are you calling me a liar in my own home?" Jason didn't move, didn't raise his voice, didn't break eye contact. "Yes." The word cut sharper than a shout. Cassandra's cheeks flushed with indignation. "You don't know anything about how this house runs. Amelia is treated well. She's lucky to have this job." Jason stepped forward again, close enough that she had to tilt her head slightly to meet his eyes. "Lucky," he repeated. Cassandra faltered, just for a moment, but it was enough for Jason to see the crack. "You're misunderstanding," she said quickly. "If she's stressed, it's because she's inexperienced. Babies require skill, discipline." Jason didn't blink. "Who taught you discipline, Cassandra?" She struggled to respond. What kind of question is that?" "I'm wondering where you learned that hurting people smaller than you is a form of management." Her eyes widened, and for the first time she took a small step back. "Hurting?" she snapped. "Is that what she told you?" "Oh, please, Amelia exaggerates. She's sensitive." She didn't finish, because Jason took one slow step closer. Not threatening, not aggressive. Just present. Too present. "Amelia," he murmured without looking away from Cassandra, "did you exaggerate?" Her voice cracked. No. Cassandra's breath hitched. She turned sharply. Don't lie, girl. Jason moved instantly. He didn't shout. He didn't touch Cassandra. He simply positioned himself slightly in front of Amelia, blocking Cassandra's line of sight. Don't speak to her like that, he said quietly. Cassandra's sharp facade faltered. You don't get to walk into this house and accuse me. This isn't your house, Jason interrupted. Her eyes flashed. What? It's Daniel S. And I am his wife. Yes, Jason said. A wife who mistreats people when he's not looking. Cassandra opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Jason's voice softened, but it didn't warm. I've worked in enough homes. I've seen enough people in power who hide behind smiles when others are around. You're not the first. Cassandra's lips tightened. She reached for her purse, pulling out her phone. This is ridiculous. I'm calling Daniel. He will deal with this. You won't walk in here and disrespect me. You called me disrespectful, Jason said, for asking why my sister is injured. I didn't injure her, Cassandra snapped. Jason tilted his head. Then why is she afraid of you? Cassandra froze. Her mouth moved, but no sound escaped. Jason stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low, unnervingly calm tone. I'm going to ask you once, he said. Did you put your hands on her? No, Cassandra said quickly, too quickly. I only corrected her when she messed up. She's slow sometimes, weak-willed. I have to keep order. Jason's eyes darkened. Order, he repeated quietly, by striking her. Cassandra hesitated just long enough for the truth to show. He saw it. Amelia saw it. Even Noah, sensing the tension, whimpered softly. Jason exhaled through his nose, fighting a fury he hadn't felt in years. Cassandra, he said softly, I need you to understand something. She swallowed. Understand what? You're done laying hands on my sister. Cassandra's posture stiffened. I've done nothing wrong. Jason ignored her. Daniel deserves to know what kind of environment his son is in. Cassandra's face twisted. You wouldn't. Oh, I absolutely will. She tried a different tactic. No one will believe you. You have no proof. Jason's eyes drifted to Amelia's sleeve. I don't need photos, he said. Bruises tell stories. Cassandra scoffed. Physical bruises prove nothing. She could have. Stop, Jason said gently, before you lie again. She froze. Jason's voice softened, not for Cassandra but for Amelia. Mia, he murmured, can you show her? Jason, just your arm. Trembling, Amelia loosened the sleeve with one hand, revealing the faint yellow marks, the older ones, the ones that never should have been there. Cassandra's face paled. Jason didn't even look at the bruises. He'd already memorized them. Instead, he watched Cassandra's reaction. And her reaction told him everything. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't horrified. She wasn't sorry. She was only afraid of being caught. Jason inhaled deeply. Thank you, he whispered to Amelia. You can cover it. Amelia pulled her sleeve back down, tears slipping quietly. Cassandra tried to regain composure. She's lying. She probably bumped herself. No, Jason interrupted softly. You don't get to rewrite this. Her breath faltered. Jason stepped close, so close that Cassandra had to step back to maintain space. You're done, he said. You will not stay here. You will not raise your voice to her again. You will not breathe in her direction. Do you understand? You don't make decisions here, Cassandra protested weakly. I do now, Jason murmured. Daniel won't believe you. He will, Jason said calmly, because he knows me, and because he'll see the bruises with his own eyes, and because deep down he already knows something's wrong. Cassandra's expression cracked, fear creeping into her perfectly painted facade. You can't destroy my marriage, she spat. Jason's voice dropped to a whisper colder than winter air. You destroyed it yourself. Cassandra stepped forward as if to defend herself again, but Noah began to cry, loud, sharp, frightened. And that cry cut through the tension like a blade. Amelia rocked him, whispering softly, trying to soothe his fear. Jason looked at the baby, then at Cassandra. You frightened him too, he said quietly. Cassandra swallowed hard. You're twisting everything." "No," Jason said, "I'm stopping it." The front door opened suddenly. Daniel walked in, coat over his arm, tie loosened, looking exhausted from work. "What's going on?" he asked, sensing the tension instantly. Cassandra gasped with relief. "Daniel, thank God, your cousin is accusing me." Daniel raised a hand. "Stop." He looked at Jason, then at Amelia's tear-stained face, then at the way she held Noah protectively. His chest tightened. "What happened?" he asked softly. Amelia's lips trembled. "Daniel." Jason didn't step forward. He didn't speak for her. He didn't expose anything. He just looked at Daniel, quiet but steady. "Ask her," Jason said, "to tell you the truth." Daniel's eyes softened. "Mia, what's wrong?" She swallowed, and for the first time in months she didn't hide. "She hurt me," Amelia whispered. Daniel went still. "Who?" he asked quietly. Cassandra stepped back. "Daniel, she's lying." Daniel turned to her. "One look. Just one." And her words died. He stepped toward Amelia, voice shaking with emotion. "Where?" She hesitated, then lifted her sleeve. Daniel's breath caught like someone punched the air out of him. "Amelia," he whispered, horrified. Why didn't you tell me?" She shook her head. "I didn't want to ruin anything." "You were hurting," Daniel said, voice breaking, "and you were in my home." Jason watched the realization crash through Daniel's face like a storm. "Get out," Daniel whispered to Cassandra. She blinked. You can't." "Get out." "But Daniel." "Now." Daniel's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Cassandra grabbed her purse, stumbling over her own anger and fear. "This isn't over," she hissed. Jason stepped forward slightly. "Yes," he said quietly, "it is." She froze once more, then walked out the door, slamming it behind her. The house felt lighter instantly. Daniel turned to Amelia, voice breaking. "I'm so sorry." Amelia shook her head, tears pouring freely. "It's not your fault." Jason stepped back, giving them space. Daniel wrapped his arms around his cousin and Noah, holding them close, guilt and love pouring out of him. Jason watched them quietly. This was why he came home. Not to confront Cassandra. Not to make threats. But to bring truth into a home built on silence. When Amelia finally looked at him, he smiled softly. "You did the brave thing," he said. "You told the truth." She wiped her cheeks. "I was scared." "I know," Jason murmured, "but courage isn't about not being scared. It's about speaking anyway." Daniel turned to Jason, eyes full of gratitude and grief. "Thank you, I should have seen it, I should have known." "You trusted the wrong person," Jason said gently, "but now you know, and now you can change it." Daniel nodded, holding Noah closer. Jason placed a gentle hand on Amelia's shoulder, a silent promise that she was safe now. And she believed it. Because Jasonstatham didn't just walk into a house. He walked into a truth that finally had room to breathe. He walked into a storm and calmed it. He walked into a wound and helped it heal. And when he looked at his sister, his brave, gentle sister, he knew one thing for certain. No one would ever lay a hand on her again. Not in this house. Not in any house. Not while he was alive.